There are moments when a single sentence stops you cold. Mine came on a warm afternoon in Nashville. My name is Mallory, and I genuinely believed I already knew how far my family could push me until the day my older sister, Kendra, proved me wrong. I had refused to lend her $10,000. Her response was simple. She picked up my iPhone 17, looked me dead in the eyes, and let it fall. The screen shattered. "Sorry, your phone is broken," she said, her voice flat, almost bored. Before I could even react, Mom stepped in with that familiar, practiced softness she reserved only for Kendra. "It was just an accident, Mallory. Don't make a big deal out of it." She didn't ask what happened. She didn't look at the damage. She just swept it aside, the same way she always had. I went silent. Not because I had nothing to say, but because I finally saw the pattern with total clarity. My sister had always walked the line between entitlement and convenience. Mom had always softened the consequences, and I had always been expected to absorb the cost. That afternoon, something settled inside me, steady and irreversible. When I got back to my apartment, I opened my laptop to check my accounts. What I found made my chest tighten. My Apple family sharing page showed apps I'd never downloaded, lifestyle subscriptions, and premium upgrades charged over several months, all time-stamped to moments when Kendra had borrowed my phone just to check her messages. Apple Pay records showed small grocery charges and household purchases matching Mom's routines, amounts small enough to slip past any monthly budget. I called my best friend Jordan, who worked in tech, and approached everything from a technical angle. Jordan examined the timestamps, device IDs, and authorization logs without sentiment. The conclusion was clear. Several purchases had been authorized through devices not registered to me. Someone had been using my credentials for a long time. I opened a blank document and started compiling every suspicious entry, organized by category, highlighted by pattern. The list grew steadily. This wasn't careless. This was deliberate. That night, I began what I silently called my quiet moves. I dissolved the Apple family sharing network entirely, removing every device that wasn't mine. I updated every password, Apple ID, banking, email, encrypted storage, with long, random combinations that held no personal meaning. I revoked all remaining logged-in sessions until only my own devices remained. Then I called my carrier, verified my identity, and requested the immediate termination of Kendra's secondary line on my account. The representative confirmed. I noted the call ID and timestamp. Next, I drafted a clean, factual notification to every account Kendra had accessed through my credentials. No blame, no emotional explanation. Simply, all permissions are revoked, linked services will no longer function, and I will not be responsible for charges going forward. Finally, I contacted Kendra's landlord, the same one who had required me to co-sign her lease years ago. I formally withdrew my financial guarantee within the terms allowed by the agreement and requested written confirmation. The documents arrived. I saved every file. The next morning, Kendra and Mom showed up at my office. Kendra walked in like someone who expected to be obeyed. "You locked me out of everything. Fix it right now." Several colleagues turned their heads. Mom followed close behind, her voice soft, but her expectation firm. "Mallory, stop being unreasonable. Restore her access." I kept my stance steady. I reminded them that every account belonged solely to me and that I had acted within my full legal rights. Kendra escalated. "If you refuse, I'll make sure everyone here knows how selfish you are." I replied with deliberate calm that unauthorized use of another person's Apple ID and financial services was unacceptable, and that removing her access was a necessary corrective action, not an emotional reaction. Office management arrived. Kendra was asked to leave. At the doorway, she turned back. "You'll regret this when you need us." My answer surprised even me. I told her that every decision I'd made simply reflected what had already happened, and that I was fully prepared for whatever came next. The ripple effects moved faster than I expected. Within days, Kendra's employer contacted me asking about authentication issues she was experiencing with her corporate account. I clarified I had no involvement in their systems. HR temporarily suspended her while investigating irregular credential activity. The property manager of her apartment notified her that without a renewed guarantor, her lease would enter a 30-day reconsideration period. I submitted my formal withdrawal. Confirmation arrived within hours. Mom began calling relatives, describing me as someone who had abandoned her daughter during a crisis. A cousin forwarded me the message. I wrote back simply, "Each adult is responsible for the structures they depend on." I offered no further explanation. Word reached me that Kendra had been given a deadline to vacate. She moved in a rush to a distant cousin's home, nearly an hour from the city. Relatives said she appeared genuinely shocked by how fast everything had unraveled, as if she had never considered the possibility that no one would intervene. I signed paperwork for my own new apartment that same week. A quieter neighborhood, farther from downtown, with a rhythm that matched where I was trying to go. I packed my boxes and felt something I hadn't felt in years: lightness. 1 month later, my work performance was stronger than it had ever been. My focus returned. My productivity improved. I received a pay raise. The mental energy I had spent for years anticipating crises, absorbing damage, and managing other people's emotional fallout, I had it back. I learned something that took too long to arrive. Boundaries are not acts of anger. They are commitments to self-respect. When people grow accustomed to leaning on you without accountability, they begin to mistake your patience for permission and your silence for agreement. The moment I stopped absorbing the weight of choices that were never mine to carry, I finally understood what peace actually felt like. Not a reward, not a victory, just a return to myself.